Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We have some more news coming out of Tuscaloosa today as five-star safety Jireh Edwards from the state of Maryland officially makes his commitment to the University of Alabama as the Crimson Tide continue to flex their muscle on their recruiting trail and show their ability to go out anywhere in the country against any school in the country and land top-tier talent. And I got to think any doubt about what Kalen DeBoer can be as a recruiter has been firmly silenced. I know that was a big thing when he first got in. I think it popped back up a little bit in 2026, early in the cycle before Alabama had filled their class out. But what him, Courtney Morgan, and the rest of the staff can do on the trail, I just don't see how anybody can doubt it in terms of their ability to put enough talent into this program to be competitive for a national championship year in and year out. But I did want to give a special shout out to Coach Linguist in the secondary because what he's done over the past two cycles, I'm not sure we've seen a position coach fill their room the way he has in quite some time. You look at the amount of 4- and 5-star talent that he's been able to bring in, it's been really impressive. And that goes along with, I think, him proving himself as an on-field coach as well, especially over the course of that 2024 year where Alabama, I felt like their secondary and the amount of new guys they had and how young they were, they certainly had their moments of not playing particularly great. I didn't think like the Georgia game in the second half was unbelievable. Didn't think the South Carolina game was their best game. But you look at the way they were able to tighten the screws and really develop as a unit into being a really, really solid unit towards the end of the year. You combine that level of development with the amount of talent that he's been able to bring in, Coach Linguist, that is, I think you're putting yourself, if you're an Alabama fan or remember that team, in a position to be one of the best secondaries in all of college football over the next few years. So if I'm an Alabama fan, I am super stoked to see what this secondary can be once all these guys kind of develop and get on the field for Alabama. And without further ado, before getting too much into Jireh Edwards and kind of his skill set and what he brings, just wanted to thank all the Alabama fans for all the support. It's been a blast covering this team over the past couple of weeks, especially as they've gotten really hot on the recruiting trail. So, again, I'm sure we're not done. I'm sure we're not done talking Alabama recruiting. We're certainly going to be talking Alabama in the season as they always find themselves in the mix, if you will. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing. We'll be talking a ton of Bama. And without further ado, wanted to get into Jireh Edwards because he, to me, is a really interesting safety prospect because if you just look where St. Francis kind of had him aligned in high school for most of his career, it seems like they love playing him around the line of scrimmage, almost in like a linebacker kind of alignment, if you will. And when you watch the tape, I think it makes a ton of sense because the first thing that stands out is there is not many guys who are more explosive than Jireh Edwards, especially at the size. I mean, he is a big, big safety at 6'2", around 210 pounds or so. It's a big safety for a junior in high school. And when he kind of like makes up his mind about what he's going to do on a football field, his ability to get from 0 to 100 is really kind of unique, I'd say. So that explosiveness combined with the fact that in the box when he's playing kind of the run or blitzing or doing some of those things, he's got really good instincts. I think recognizes things really quickly. And you just see how hard it is for offensive linemen, tight ends, fullbacks to get on him and cover him up and block him up. Because, again, he's got the instincts. He diagnoses things quickly, but also his explosiveness is about as unique as it gets. So I kind of see him staying in that role, frankly, in Alabama, and maybe what kind of Malachi Moore played, that husky role that Kane Womack introduced into this system. That's kind of where I see him because I really don't think you want to take him away from the line of scrimmage because he's just too good there. He's too productive. He makes those like really high impact plays, TFLs, sacks. To me, I think you got to keep him in that role. And the other part of that is I think he is a really good man cover guy. And I don't think we know a ton about what he is in terms of being a deep safety or working a ton in zone. But in terms of man coverage, he's just so athletic. He can get his hands on guys and be really effective kind of guarding slot receivers. So I would have to imagine that that's kind of where he shakes out in terms of this Alabama room. And I think with the amount of talent you've been able to bring in if you're an Alabama coach, I think you now have the luxury of putting guys in their best spots. Like if you don't have an Ivan Wilson, let's say, or you don't have some of those other top end safeties that Alabama's been able to bring in, maybe you do have to have Jireh Edwards playing that deep safety role, or maybe slightly out of position about what he, or not out of position, but like not having him maximized, if you will. When you have the amount of talent that Alabama has in the secondary room, I just think you can get guys in their best spots and where they can, again, maximally impact the football game. And to me, that's Jireh Edwards is playing that kind of husky nickel hybrid linebacker role. And where I think it gets kind of interesting, though, is that how do you use him and Chuck McDonald? And that's Jireh Edwards and Chuck McDonald. Because I think when we talked about Chuck McDonald last year in the recruiting cycle, I think there were some similar things to be said. I mean, both are good, solid size guys. Chuck McDonald, not as tall as Jireh Edwards, but like has the kind of like the thickness and the strength that you're looking for to be able to be an in the box run supporter. And Chuck McDonald, another guy who really good man coverage in those short areas. So I'm kind of interested to see how those two work together, what they do with both those guys, because again, I do feel like both are perfectly suited for that nickel role, but also like both are too talented not to be on the field really consistently. So that's kind of going to be what I'm probably looking for in the secondary room. And I don't mean to make this like a negative thing at all. Like it's a good problem to have guys, multiple guys at certain positions who feel like they're really, or you feel really good about playing, let's say. But that's probably be something I'm watching because again, I think Alabama has like you kind of know who your boundary cornerbacks are. Your Jordan Edmonds, your Dijon Lees, those type of guys. You kind of know what you have in some of your safety spots with a guy like Ivan Taylor and Zay Mincy. But I don't know. I just don't think you can take Jireh Edwards away from the line of scrimmage. So, and I look at kind of a more macro level for the Alabama team. If they can continue to like build this pass rushing unit out, and so far in the 2026 cycle, I think they're building a very interesting unit. Like Nolan Wilson, to me, has the chance to be one of the best interior pass rushers in the game. Tank Jones is now the guy we're all looking at. Like if they bring him in and you have him and Jamarian Matthews on the outside and Nolan Wilson on the middle, I mean, that can be a really formidable pass rushing group. And you combine that with an elite safety or an elite secondary, I should say. I think you can be hyper disruptive, take the ball away, and really kind of dominate games, I should say, with those two position groups. So again, Alabama, you look at this class, it's going to be top 10 at least. It's probably going to be top 5. They're putting themselves in a position to be, again, I'm not trying to say they're going to be what they were under Saban. I don't know that we'll ever see that again, but putting themselves in a position where year in and year out, you know they're going to be really competitive for national championships. And I look at the amount of talent they've brought in, yeah, they're probably going to be there again. So we'll continue to follow this recruiting trail. I know there's some big names out there. Tank Jones to me is really big. Elijah Golden's big, and then probably Wilson Jere at the tackle spot with Bryson Cooley making his commitment to LSU. But I'm sure Alabama's going to win their share of them, and again put together a really good class. So we'll get out of here on that, and appreciate all the Alabama fans for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys later.